It's a pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you. We've worked together on The Mercy of the Jungle, which is going to be at the Africa Film Festival, New York. But I think it's great because, like, I know a bit about your, like, because I worked on The Mercy of the Jungle, I know about the film and a bit about your life as well and what inspired the movie. But I feel like this is going to allow me to get a bit more personal. So fill some gaps. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I was thinking we'll start with like the inspiration for The Mercy of the Jungle, which would have been like your real life experience. So what inspired you to write The Pardon and Imbabazi initially before getting to The Mercy of the Jungle?
Yeah. So, my first movie was on genocide. It's The Pardon, and I was trying to question about forgiveness, but also all this criminality, including genocide, because I'm Rwandan. I was born in a small village, city in Rwanda, and in '94, genocide happened in Rwanda. Many people were killed. Even my father was killed during the genocide. So when I grew up, for me, I hate war. And all my question was really trying to understand why people were human, they kill each other. And those are the questions I grew up with. And I was studying biology and chemistry at university. So we didn't have film school here. But one day I just found this an online school where I could pay small money and learn about cinema and directing. So I just started to pay and learn about filmmaking. And then I remember the first story I wrote. Was on genocide, forgiveness, because at that time I remember people who committed genocide in Rwanda. There's a moment the president decided to forgive them. And for me, as a genocide survivor, at first I was upset. I was really like, if I knew someone who killed my father, will I forgive? So I remember when I started to write stories, that was the first question I had to ask myself. Is it possible to forgive someone who did all the killings, the genocide? And then after I did a small workshop with an organization by Mira Nair, Maisha Film Lab, based in Uganda, where I managed to go deep and learn more about writing. And then they managed to produce my first short film, which was the Pardon. But I knew it was really too short to talk about forgiveness and genocide. And then at that moment, I decided to work on the feature script, the long script of the film, which at the end, I auto-produced myself. I didn't have enough skills in different area in cinema, but I had to do it. So we made the film on a very low budget with friends, and that's how I made my first feature, which is The Pardon in Bawazi. It was on genocide, but at the same time, according to your question, I realized that I still have more question on war, and then I was born next to Congo, so I could see what happened in Congo till now. So many people are still being killed every single day. So I was willing to tell a story on what was happening in Congo. So I did some research, and then there is a cousin of mine that I met after some years who told me his experience in Congo when they went to fight the first war, chasing the people who contribute in the killings and the genocide in Rwanda. But what really struck me in the moment he told me his own story when him and his friend get lost in a jungle. And then for me, I realized this is the best story where you are in a foreign country fighting, but at one point you find yourself in this environment where you have also to run for your life, try to survive, but also learn the humanity, question yourself of what is happening. So yeah, so with that true story from my cousin, I had to sit down and work on the script in collaboration with a co-writer, a friend who mentored me also on my first feature script. It's Casey Sean. He's based in New York.
Yeah.
So we wrote the script. Yeah.
Just to go back a bit, so you lived the experience of the genocide as a child, and your dad was killed. But at what point, so after that, you would have had to have gone back to, I guess, like regular life, and you would have done your studies. But at what point did you decide to study film? At what point did you decide I am going to do this? Like, were you exposed to that at all? There were no film schools also. So exactly what pulled you in to do it?
Yeah, for me, I loved watching movies. So since I was young, if I could find a place where to go and watch movies, I would really take the opportunity. So in 2007-8, I was at university. I was studying biology and chemistry, and it was sponsored by the Association for Genocide Survivor. Just there is a fund that was there to support us survivors to study. But biology and chemistry, it was too much theory for me. So always I could try to find practical things to do. I did some course in computer repairing, and then I was trying to find I can say manual and things that I love. And then one day I just found out this film school online when I was just all the time I could be on internet. At that time the internet was very slow, but I managed to find this school, and then I said this is what I want to do, because in me I had things to say. And then the only way I realized I could say it and expose it, it was through cinema. That's why I was ready to invest small money, anything that I had to study cinema. And I remember when I got my certificate, I decided to drop out of school because I just want to really tell my stories. It was not easy. I didn't know how it is going to happen, but I decided to invest all my time, my energy to tell the stories.
And so it was after Mbabazi that you met Casey, or during? Was it after or during? Your co-writer.
So Casey, I met him in 2011. I remember I was right after I did my short film. Millionaire organization Maisha Film Lab decided to do a collaboration with Columbia University and writers in Africa to put them together so that they can mentor them. They can mentor us on the writing of a feature film. So at that moment, I was working on my feature script. So, and then it was selected through Maisha Film Lab in Columbia University And then students who were graduating at Columbia University also read the script, and then Casey loved the script, and then he was ready to work with me as a mentor on the script. So I met him. We spent the entire year working together, sending him drafts. He was reading. He sent me comment. So, and then after the script of Imbabazi was finished, it was finalized, I tried to look for funding. I remember I got a fund from Sweden for development. It's a development fund. It was almost 10,000. But for me, I didn't want to wait because I didn't know a lot in producing. So I decided to use the small money I got in development and use it into production. So it was really a big risk. But on the other side, I had to collaborate with my friends. All of us, we were working for free. Mm-hmm. And then even Kezi, he was in New York. We had to keep collaborating on the project as a co-producer. Mm-hmm. My editor was in New York. Me, I was in Rwanda, so he could be there. So I pushed the project, and then the film was released in 2013. But at that moment, me and Casey, we had already started to work on the Master of the Jungle script.
Okay. I was listening to something online this week, and this person from a writing fund, he was saying, you know, when it comes to Africa, we don't want any work that comes from that are based on genocides or based on war. And I think that even me growing up in the Caribbean, like, you know, when we were somehow fed certain visuals of Africa. And that is obviously one of them. But but The Mercy of the Jungle it isn't the typical genocide film. It isn't like a typical war film. It's an anti-war film. What do you think it was able to stand out because of your voice, your lens, the authenticity? What do you think that made it different somehow and allowed you to have funding and to find producers and all of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, it's it's not easy for, you know, the audience at this moment. They don't want to get frustrated, so that's why they don't like war movie and you know, problems. But for me, with all the film I made, Imbabazi and the Master of the Jungle, so yeah, there is war, there's genocide, but on the other side, I realized that we can't run away from our problems. So we have to talk about it. We have to face the situation we have, and then try to understand and try to find solution for those problems. So for me, the way I see war, that's why all my questioning, it's more about trying to fight a little bit against the war. So I can have some scene where there is really, you can see why I can confront you with war, but on the other side is to try to question you and question the audience and make sure that they understand that war is not necessary in our life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for the Master of the Jungle, for me, I believed in the project. I knew the necessity of the project, but I had a big challenge because I didn't want to do it, to make it with a low budget. So I had to look for producer. So it took time, but so many producers. I had to go pitch in South Africa, in Cannes, in Locarno. But to find the right producer who understands your vision on war, it was not easy. So, but I had to really keep looking. At one point, I was really disappointed. You know, it was not easy to find the right one. But I remember the moment Aurelien read the script, because he had been working in Africa, so for him, he understand the ground in Africa, but also he could understand my vision and the necessity of telling this story. So when we had a meeting, so I could understand, I could feel that he's the right producer for the project. So yeah, for the Mercy of the Jungle, yeah, it's an entire movie. But on the other side, I believe that all over the world, war is happening. Now you can see some country in Africa, you can see now in Palestine, in Israel, there's killings, there's fight. So we can't really run away and hide our eyes in discussing those heavy topics, because for me, it's our responsibility to face the problem and try to find a solution.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so, do you think that you've been able to do that with the Mercy of the Jungle?
So, yeah, what I like with the Mercy of the Jungle, yeah, it's a journey. So that I want really to take the entire audience in this beautiful continent, the jungle, this beautiful place, and then make them travel with our two main characters. And with the Master of the Jungle, I'm sure that we manage really we manage to go with our audience in the jungle. They can really feel and smell the jungle. They can suffer, they can feel the pain. So, but the moment of joy, I can see also the audience is with us. But on the other side, with the Master of the Jungle, it's a film that the audience, yeah, they sit to the end. So even if there is some moment of war and troubles, but on the other side there is hope. So for me, it's a film about hope. It's not really a film of war and things going wrong, but on the other side, it's a film about the future and hope. So for me, I'm happy what we achieved with the Mercy of the Jungle.
But I think that the use of the jungle also made it really beautiful, and that's not an aspect of Africa, if I were to say it as a one word, but it's not a part of maybe even like Rwanda that we see, or Congo that we see in the news, or that we see every day. And so I felt that that was a really beautiful element, and it showed in the film. Someone told me that they felt that it was it reminded them of a Japanese war film. Do you think that did you, as a child, did you watch Japanese films, or like what do you think, what genres and what influenced the look of the Mercy of the Jungle?
Yeah, for the Master of the Jungle, the jungle itself, I want it to be a character, antagonist, protagonist, really make it alive. So that's why even in the writing, the jungle was present, and I had to keep watching movies. And then there's a movie by Terence Malick, The Thin Red Line. When I watched the film, I could realize it's an entire movie, but the way he filmed the characters, the way he filmed the nature, it talked to me so much. And for me, that was the right, I can say the right example for the Mercy of the Jungle, because for me, the nature is a character. It should talk to us. We should really, we have to be into that jungle and face whatever happened in the jungle. So yeah, visually, yeah, Terrence Malick is the example for me. But on the other side, yeah, the Django was supposed to be really the character. I remember even when I was planning all the visuals with my cinematographer, our main plan is to make this Django alive. So yeah, I'm happy that all our entire team made sure that yeah, we made this Django alive, from sound, from all departments. They were really ready to provide their best skills for it to be alive.
Yeah. And in Babazi and the Pardon, you worked with like your friends to complete both of them, and the only outside the person outside of that was Casey that you collaborated with in terms of the script. But for The Mercy of the Jungle, you now had to collaborate with both crew in Africa and crew in Europe. How were you able to make that transition in those two very different environments?
Yeah, for my first film, I worked with them. They are my friends, so I can say we learned cinema together. For this first film, no one was getting paid, but we all worked and put all our skills and talent together. But with the Master of the Jungle, I knew I had the depth. They're skilled, and then I was really happy to have most of them managing the really department, costume and makeups, and so many departments were really in charge with locals filmmaker in Uganda and in Rwanda. And for me, it was really nice to have them on a project where all of us will get paid. So I was really happy. And then also having the foreign crew on the project. Yeah, it was a first experience. You know, when you have people from different backgrounds, there's always challenges. But on the other side, it's it's experience. You have to face it. But on the other side, you have to surround yourself with the right people. And that's why people I chose to work with in East Africa, in Rwanda, Uganda, they are people I know. Even people who came on board from Europe. For them also, it was a journey. It was an experience to learn and understand our continent. But also the production team, the producers and all the team behind, I think they did their job very well, because they are the bridge between the two continents, the two. So for me, having the production team on my side, it was not complicated. Yeah, there is always challenge, but what matters is to make sure that the film is done, the project is finished, and then after we all celebrate. But on the other side, making a movie, you have to be ready to collaborate with different people from different places. So, and make sure each challenge you face, it becomes advantage for you. So,
yeah. And what was your favorite scene in the movie? What would you say your favorite scene was? Whether that is because it's technical or because of something that you loved in the script, or whether it was based on a story that your cousin had told you about, or what would you say is like that scene that holds close to you?
Yeah, there's many scenes, but one particular scene is is the scene where I wanted to make my two protagonist characters face that in the jungle, the nature is the king. So I remember when we were doing scouting, we went in Queen Elizabeth. I remember you were there.
Yeah.
So we saw so many, we saw so many animals. But one particular moment is when I saw animals drinking water. I remember it's a lake. Yeah, it's a lake, and there are all kind of animals. Yes, elephant, lion.
Yes.
But at that particular moment, there is no fight. They're just drinking water, not eating each other. And then I had to try to walk in the scene like that, but it's not easy production-wise to make that kind of scene. Then that's how the gorilla scene came in my mind. So yeah, I wrote that scene. So it was my first time to go see the gorilla, and then all of us were scared with 10 people hiking. And then when we saw the gorilla, could feel that even me, everyone was scared. But what made this scene special is when the gorilla when they realize that you are filming and telling a story that matters, so the gorilla started to act for us. Yeah, that's the scene. I can say it was a surprise.
Yeah. And I think that because I feel like of all the different places that we've seen the film, like in Rwanda, in Belgium, in different cinemas, in Burkina Faso, there are different scenes that people respond to, but I think like that one is one of everyone's favorites. Because I think, yeah, because you feel immersed in it and it's a fiction, but then there's this, these really powerful beings. You feel it, even on screen, you feel the power and that wildness, that nature that is so beautiful. But the script, the movie is always different from the script. It always is at the end of the production. What were, so that's one of the differences that you appreciated. Were there any others? And then also, what didn't you, what are maybe one difference, one element that was different that you probably didn't like, that you would have probably changed?
Yeah. For the scripts, always you have to be ready to adapt yourself. You don't lose your story.
Yeah.
But in any situation, make sure that you can really be flexible. Yes, some people, it's not easy to be flexible according to the situation, because for them you can say sometimes they're like robots. This is what is there, so to change it, it's not possible. But on the other side, you as a writer, as a filmmaker, it's possible. Everything is possible. So you have really to make sure that you don't lose your track. So for me, the script we have into production, you have to make sure that each scene, at least you get the best scene than what you have in your script. So, but to make people understand, sometimes it's not easy. But on the other side, you have to have that vision and make sure things change. I remember there's some scene I had in the script, in the Master of the Jungle, the fighting scene. So the way they were writing the script, the first draft, they were like really kind of Hollywood fighting. But I remember when I had a meeting with my producer discussing more about the budget, and then how really I have to find solution. It helped me to go back and rework on those scenes and make it more kind of simple but special, and be really like, if you watch those scenes, they are it's fight scene, but you will never see, which you never seen in other movies. So yeah, you have always to give yourself really opportunity and chance, to keep really working in developing well you are, so you don't block yourself. So yeah,
that's something you always say, everything is possible. I think it's I think it's why you're able to achieve the things that you achieve. But I think, yeah, it's always difficult, I guess, because there's each crew, each team leader wants, like, so image is focused on image and sound is focused on sound. And so everyone wants to get what they want to get. And so it falls on the director to decide when something isn't, not that it's not possible, but how do you find a solution that works for everyone, right?
yeah, that's your job, sometimes. Sometimes you can, have a scene and you decide to remove some dialogue, maybe to add dialogue moments, but it affects the entire team. So if you don't communicate well, so they will be really, it will be chaotic. So because in their mind in the morning when they wake up, they have this plan. So if you change a little bit, so you have really to find a way to collaborate with them, because it's necessary, but also on their side they have really to understand that the film grows as it moves forward. So things change, challenge happen, you have to adapt. So yeah, they have really to be ready for anything that could happen, but that moves the film forward. They have really to be flexible, but also on your side, you have really to make sure that you keep the balance and make sure the film move on the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're working on a film based on Captain Mbai.
Yeah.
Why? So this is another story that's based on it's based on the genocide, and it happens in that same period in Rwanda, right? Why did you choose that to tell this story now?
So now I know even my audience, as I say, the audience all over the world, they don't like war. But on the other side, there are stories that are really necessary, that really deserve to be on a big screen. So for Mbai, he's Senegalese. He was part of the UN peacekeeping mission in Rwanda. And that moment when the genocide started, the UN started to reduce soldiers and leaving the country while people were getting killed. And Mbai, for him, he decided not just to stand and look. So he started to save people. But his special way of saving people is not by guns and fighting. So he was using communication, humor, and negotiating with killers, driving around in Kigali, but every day putting his life in danger to save people. So he managed to save 600 people, but he was also killed in Rwanda. And for me, what really touches me is a story of this man who sacrificed himself to save others, and do it in a way that yeah, the communication, that was his strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the family in Senegal, so he decided to leave everything aside and serve people. So for me, yeah, that's my the next project we have to fight and make sure it's made.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to raise the funding on the entire war movie. But on the other side, the subject matters. For our continent, we have our heroes. We have our heroes who really are African, who understand that we are human, who are ready to sacrifice themselves. So this is an example of a person who really matters, for me, and that deserves really to be on a big screen. So yeah, it's another challenge, but I'm sure we'll fight and make it, all of us together.
Of course. Well, I'm privileged enough to have read the script, and I feel like he is. I was really impressed. Well, you told me about it before, and I was really impressed by him because I felt like he was a real superhero. And it's also that it's that image also that we don't see of Africa. So I think I agree with you that it is really important. It's good to, we need to see, like, you know, the people who really made a difference and who were selfless in doing that. And just to be able to understand that that there are many who want better for us and who've like made a way for things to be better, for us to have a future. We're standing on their we're standing on their shoulders. So yeah. Do you think you'd ever write a film? No, before that, someone said that you are in Trinidad, we say a birdie told me, when you don't want to reveal who the person, who the identity of the person who said it. So I heard that you write, your walls are filled with Post-its, and they were really impressed with you because you had like everything really itemized and organized, and it was all, I guess, visual on your wall. So what is your writing process like?
Oh, so it depends on the project. So for Mbai, it's a film that required research, and I had really to do more research and try to understand this person, because he was killed. He's not there to tell me his own story. So I had really to understand him and try to recreate and this character. So yeah, I spent 1 year in Paris in a residence in a quiet place where I could really focus and work on the script. So, but for the Master of the Jungle, I remember I wrote it when I was in Rwanda. So it was really the same strategy, where you have really to plan each moment, each scene. So yeah, so that's how I work. And also
Yeah.
my co-writer, we have the same feeling and the same test. Once I have a first draft, giving him when he reads, so it's easy for us to collaborate online. So we've been collaborating a lot online. So I met him for the first time in Toronto in 2018. So he's like a brother, and then we understand things the same. We have the same taste, so it's easy to co-write with him. So yeah,
Yeah.
it depends. But on the other side, you have really to be precise of what you're looking for.
Right. And so the question I was about to ask when I thought of that other one was, do you think that you'll ever write a film where there's a female lead?
Yes, yes. I have some projects I'm developing. I'm sure I will soon. I will work on a project where there is a female lead.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm in the writing, developing project. But now we have to focus on Mbai, Captain Mbai, and then after, I'm sure we'll have a female lead on the project.
I'm holding you to that. I wanted to know also, with the stories, with your life experience, and also the films that you work on, it's sort of so it's not only documentaries that help make footprints for our history, and so you have lived and you have survived a genocide, and because of that, you've lost your dad. Your mom had died before, but so there's a bit of your family history that would have been lost. And so I'm guessing that by doing this, like by telling the story of Mbai, by telling the story of the Mercy of the Jungle, it's art imitating life. So it's also saying, so it's giving a perspective of what happened at a certain time. Do you think that how will you how do you see yourself passing this history on, like, to your children, considering that, so like there's everything that happened also before the genocide, and I feel like countries and families lose a bit of yourself and a bit of your history when these things happen. But we as artists, I would say, and documentarians, and we find a way to keep that history alive. And so I'm just wondering, like, how do you see yourself sharing that, for example, with your children as they get older and they have questions?
For the genocide, and what happened here, it's really, I can say it's a lot. It's really, everyone is traumatized. Everyone lost a member of his family, so it's really I can say it's, now we are building a future of a country, but our past has been really traumatizing, and the only way to keep the history alive, even if we went through bad things, our responsibility is to try to show it to our the future generation, our kids and others, to understand, for them to understand what happened in our country, so that it doesn't happen in any other country, because it destroy life, it destroy hopes and future. So for me, the only way I could express what was hurting me myself, and trying to cure myself from those traumatic experiences, was really to try to tell the story, but not what I saw, but maybe try to combine and try to bring a message alive. So cinema is my option. Others, they write books. So we have really, I met so many survivors. I met so many people. Each person in Rwanda, if you hear, it's a movie. So we have really, so many films has been made in Rwanda by foreigners. So it's kind of their point of view. but now it's necessary for us to tell our own story the way, you know, we have been in that situation. So it can be a film on genocide, war, or even beyond that, a love story, another genre of film, but told by us African, because we need really to put our voice there. So on the other side, with my children, for them to understand and learn the history, it's, yeah, there is a lot in a country that will help them understand what happened. But on the other side, I will also be there if I have to explain. But to learn what happened, it's easy when you're in Rwanda. So you just understand it yourself. Yeah. But now it's trying really to build from those wounds and try really to, yeah, to bring hope in, yeah, in the next generation. Try for them from what happened, they understand that the future is in their own hand to decide what is good, what is bad.
Yeah. And it's because it is, I also grew up with a parent and a grandparent, because my dad had also passed away when I was little. So there's always, like, I guess, a bit of a disconnect, but how it's why I appreciate what you're doing so much, because it's making something that they can look on at after and have an understanding of what happened in that time, even if they are probably unable to see their grandparents, but at least they know that they can experience things through your eyes, as in a way that I guess you haven't been able to. So that's that's hopeful. Was there anything else I wanted to ask you? What advice would you give to someone who was a Joël Karekezi somewhere, who is maybe 18 years of age? What advice would you give to someone, to an upcoming filmmaker, apart from everything is possible?
Yeah, apart from
I was when you called me one time, and I told you asked me about this project I was working on, and I said, well, like, I had these, it was a moment that I felt very I don't want to say insecure, but I wasn't sure about what I should do next. And you said to me, don't worry, just do the work and everything else will come. And it was motivating. And so I appreciate that very much. What would you say to someone else, probably who was in your position when you were younger and wanting to make movies?
So yeah, when you want to make movies, yeah, there is so many obstacles. You know, there's financial obstacles, experience, and really to even understanding how the industry works. It's a challenge. So, but for me, my advice is just you have to fight. You have to fight for your knowledge. You have to do research and train yourself. You have to do your best and try to find ways and collaborators, people who understand you, people who are ready to also fight for you, and who understand your project and ready, really, I can say, ready to die for it. So, and then that will be when you surround yourself with the right person, it's easy to move forward each day. So for each project you have, make sure sure you make the right choice of who is going to push with you this project forward. On the other hand, fight for it to happen. Don't just leave it in your drawer. So you have to tell the story, what they happen, do it.
Okay, because but I think that that's also life in general, right? We need to be always very mindful of the persons that we have around us, our thoughts, and our actions. Obviously, it's always about surrounding yourself with people who have good intentions and who share the same vision.
Yeah, if you make a mistake, you have a negative spirit around you, so you are finished. So make sure you find the right positive energy, the right people who understand your vision, because making a movie, some people are building house, making business, making money. So making a movie, it's not easy. It needs a lot. So you have really, for you to not be discouraged, you have really to surround with really positive people who understand your vision and the necessity of the project you're working on.
And one last thing, what do you think your superpower is? That allows you to be able to do all accomplishing all your accomplishments.
So for me, I like to listen, even if sometimes I don't understand. Even if the moment I listen. So and then listening is necessary, because when you listen to other people's point of view, then it's easier for you to know, to plan your next step.
So going back to your first two films, what does forgiveness mean to you? Because they both films spoke about forgiveness, and so I'm just wondering, what does forgiveness mean for you? And did those working on those two projects, were they able to help you to figure that out, or did you understand that before?
Forgiveness was really my biggest question, as I said, because it was really unusual to see someone who killed like 50 people getting, freed out of prison, just, because he said I did this, and then get the forgiveness. But I remember when I was working on this project, it helped me to question myself, but also question about the future of the country. Because if everyone decides to avenge the blood of his family, you realize that a country where like 800,000, almost 1 million people were killed, it means more than 1 million of people contributed. They gave information. So there is really connection to make sure those people were killed. So if you have to really avenge, it's really, you are destroying an entire country. So I realized that forgiveness also is necessary in a way that, for the better future of our children, our next generation, that we don't have to forget what happened, but from what happened, all those mistakes that happened, we learn how to really build a better future. So it's really necessary for our children. They have to live in a place where, you know, there is no hate and killings and all those. But on the other side, you know, forgetting it's not possible, but really accepting to live in peace with another person, it's a must. It's a must, and it's a must for even the next generation. If you keep fighting and killing each other, it's going to be a circle of violence, an endless circle that will keep going on. So we have really to find an understanding, and even if we don't have the same vision, the same beliefs, we have to accept to live together. Everyone deserves to live. So for forgiveness, yeah, for me, I was lucky. I didn't know who killed my father, but I managed to make a documentary where I met like survivors who forgive perpetrators. It's not easy. It's not an easy subject to understand, but on the other side, you realize that it's necessary for them, for survivors. It's necessary for them to get the peace inside them and try to move forward. The killers, they are suffering also, so they need also to move forward. So the forgiveness also, it helps to cure wounds from both sides. So yeah, there's so many reasons that if you go deep, realize that it's necessary to live in peace and accept to live together, forgive, even if it's not easy, but first, you know, to accept to move forward and live in peace. It's a responsibility for everyone.
And I learned in a BBC interview that you did, it's one of my favorite interviews of you, and they had asked you about your mom being Hutu and your dad being Tutsi. And I felt that it also spoke to somehow like the absurdity of war, that which you address in The Mercy of the Jungle, because then, you know, it's like, who are we at the end of the day, who are we really fighting against? Is that
Yeah, if I remember at that time, yeah, I found out my mom was Hutu after, but me as a kid, seeing like dead body on the street, and then people saying they're killing you because you are tall, you have this kind of size of nose. It's really, it's really weird. So that's why all my film is to try to understand human, because human, they change, human, they can really do things that you can't imagine. So that's why even stories we're telling, yeah, we can tell all genre of film, but if we get opportunity to make our human think, it's necessary. So, you know, people, they like to be happy and see, and forget, but we have always to get ready, because people, they can be bad and good. So if we want to really to educate our children, or, you know, make sure that we help them to think, you realize that even in the genocide, people who had like who went to school like in Europe, who had doctors, masters, they contributed in the killing. So you can realize that the education they received, you know, it didn't work. So we have really to process and try to make sure that we understand that human, we have we deserve to live in peace.
Mm-hmm. And I think that in each of us also there's good and bad. Like we're all really complex beings, and that's it's never really ever going to be black and white. And so we have to find a way to really to coexist and get along and just survive all of what we're experiencing, good and bad. And so which brings me to my last question. What do you think your superpower is?
So it's a hard question. So, but for me, I think what I like to do is to listen to people. So because the more you listen, you understand, but also you can plan also your next move, knowing that you are not going to harm, or just you get ready for the next step. So yeah, first you listen, even if you are not maybe on the same page. Listen and keep listening, and then make sure you move forward, knowing that you know how to move forward once you listen.
Yeah. And have you been able to do that during COVID? Just because like COVID has changed everything that we experience and how we experience it and when and where. How have you been able to use your superpowers, and how have you been able to work during this time?
So for COVID period, it was the time I was working on the script of Mbai. So I think it gives me also time to be alone and focus on the script. It was not easy period. Even till now, it's really complicated. But on the other side, I think also for humanity, in general, we realize that there is a time and a moment we got in our life we didn't use in the right way. So I think now people they understand the value even of having a friend and talking. So when you're alone for a month or 6 months alone, then you are traumatized. So now I think when things
yeah.
So I think when we get another chance to talk again as it used to be, so I think all of us will take advantage of each second.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I miss that. I look forward for us to be in each other's presence again, to work again. And it was just great to see you and talk to you now.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
African Film Festival New York for allowing us to do that now.
Yeah, thank you. It was an honor talking to you and sharing our journey. And thank you to New York Film Festival for rescreening The Mercy of the Jungle.
Yes.
I am sure one day we will be there in person and talk to the audience and bring you a new movie.
Yes.